For this tenement material, we're going to be making a sand material. So what we're going to do is we're going to start out with our plane that we would have made from the getting set up video. We're going to make sure we have tiling set on X and Y, and that tiling is set to 1 and 1, so it tiles properly on our plane. And we're going to use the inflate to just start drawing some waves along the surface here. When you look at sand dunes from above, they just look like waves and sandbars and water. So we're just going to draw that out. We're going to add a bunch of different lines. We're going to make them curve a little bit. And we're going to get our initial sand texture down. Remember, whenever you're modeling any of these using this method, that we're only actually going to be getting the 1 by 1 meter as our final texture, since we have to crop it down to get rid of the artifacts and the edges. So just keep that in mind. If you're trying to make this scale of something look right, you're only actually getting what's in the 1 by 1 square in the middle of the texture. So now that that's good, we're going to go over to shading. And what we want to do is we want to make sure that our render camera is off. It's disabled in both the scene view and the render view. And then what we're going to do is we're going to bake our normal map. So we want it set to normal. We want negative Y for our G value. We want to make sure selected to active is on and that our extrusion is 0.1. So we're going to first select our target, then our material, and then the texture in the material, and press bake. If you did all of this in the right order, after it's finished baking, you should get the normal map to pop out. And there's our normal map. So everything looks good that way. The orientation is proper. So we're going to save that image somewhere where we know. And after that is saved, we're going to work on baking our height map. We already have the material set and the camera set up. So baking this is as easy as hiding the plane, making the render camera visible again, and then going to render and render image. So now we have our height map rendering. And once this is done, we can do the same thing. We're going to save this as our material name underscore height. And we're going to save it somewhere that we can access it. And then we're going to move over to Photoshop. Now in Photoshop, we're going to do the same thing we do with any of the other ones, is we're going to crop it down to 2048, get the exact center of the image. We're going to check that it's okay by turning on the pattern preview. And if that looks good, then we're going to do the same thing with our height map. And once we have both of those, we're going to take just our height map again. We're going to make a new file, and this height map is going to be the base for our color map. Now that we have that pasted over to our color map, since this is a sand texture, we want to have it look grainy. We want some sandy details. So to do this, we're going to add a noise layer. So in order to do this, we're going to go and we're going to create a new layer. In this layer, we're just going to fill it with white. So I'm going to get my fill tool and we're going to fill this texture with white. And then we're going to go over to filter, down to noise, and then add noise. Here, it gives you a preview, so set the noise to whatever strength you want. This one, I don't want it to be super intense, so I'm just setting it to something light like that. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to change this layer's blending mode from normal to multiply. So what this is doing is it is multiplying each of these pixels by the layer below it, and it's giving us that kind of sandy, grainy look. Then quick export this as a PNG, and it's going to be our metallic map. Then we're going to merge down that multiplied layer. And with this next, we're going to go to image, adjustments, and we're going to go to gradient map. And this is how we're actually going to apply our sand color. So I'm going to pick something like kind of an orangish, like a darker orangey sand. So pick whatever colors you'd like here. I think something like this probably is pretty good. So with that, then we're going to export this one as our color map. And then back in Unity, what we're going to do is we're going to get one of our default materials here. We're going to check that our normal map is imported as a normal map. And we're going to assign our different textures to the different properties. So make sure our base map is our base map. Our height map is going to be height and ambient occlusion. So we're going to set those two. And then our metallic map is going to be the metallic, not the normal. I set it as the normal, but you want to make sure you have the right one. So our metallic is going to go up to the metallic, and then you might want to adjust the smoothness a little bit on this property just because it's a little too shiny. So if you adjust the smoothness a little bit, you'll get a lot less of that intense shine. So play around with these different values to make the effect you want. And that's all there is to it. This was more like a 5-minute material video, but this works really well, especially for terrain. If you are using terrain, just know that the ambient occlusion, as well as the height map values, they get stored in a single texture as the different channels. So I'll make another video on that later to show you exactly what I mean, but you can't just pump this directly into a terrain.